Hello and welcome back to our weekly Q&A. If you all haven't had enough of me already, you will by the end of this video, okay? So some good questions again this week. So obviously thank you to those who submitted them. I'm going to have a little bit of a ramble, a little bit of a rant and work through things so that ultimately we know where we're at with the questions. Some things are very nuanced and obviously a lot of them are a matter of my opinion. And they might be completely wrong because therefore they are my opinions. So who cares? So first question then. So what makes the most successful clients? Okay. So first of all, we've got to define what success is. For different people, it will be different things. For some people, it will be fat loss. For some people, it will be running. Other people, it will be muscle gain. But ultimately, success relative to goal boils down to a few things, okay? And I think the ultimate one is resilience. Just genuine resilience on a day-to-day, a week-to-week basis. There's going to be things, and most of the time, it's life. Life's going to throw you curveballs. Work's going to pull your attention. Shit's going to go wrong, bros and broettes. I can pretty much guarantee something will go wrong on a weekly basis for you relative to the goal that you're trying to work towards. And you're going to feel like you can't do it. And you're going to feel like whether it's the right choice. And you're going to feel like it's a big commitment. You're going to feel like it's this big pressure on your body. But remember, resilience is the biggest thing when you can develop. Because it only really comes into fruition when you quit. You only fail when you quit. So resilience has got to be up there. I also think some clients come into the coaching program with an expectation, a positive expectation that they are going to succeed in the thing that they want to do. And I've been reading a lot about visualization at the moment and kind of elite athletes and how as airy-fairy as it is, some form of visualization, I don't want to say manifestation because I think that's been massively hijacked by a shit part of fitness where everyone's just oh my god, I'm going to be a rock star. No, you ain't. Honest expectations are exactly what you need. For example, I have clients and we know that they're going to do it. We're doing it. The whole narrative in the lead up to the thing, to the goal, becomes we're going to do it. You are going to do it. You've done this. When you run at this pace, when you do the retreat, when you've done the shoot. So the narrative gets changed and it starts to become this thing you've almost already done a million times. So that when you get there, you're almost wow, I expected I was going to do this and therefore I've done it. Next one is that they are open to change. A lot of people come into coaching and they are very much stuck in their own ways. And remember that the reason you're in coaching is because the ways that you were stuck in have probably left you in a position where you're not happy with yourself. And that's the honest reality of it. I haven't had enough caffeine today. Realistically, we all sit on a spectrum, not of autism, but a spectrum of what we are willing to change within our lives to get the desired result. And if you're willing to make no changes, if you're not open to make any changes, you will pretty much remain the same. Of course, you can make changes to your nutrition that might impact you. But if you're not willing to give up the binge drinking every night and the kebabs every night, the pizzas every night, it's probably going to limit your result at some point, okay? And the most successful clients are open to things getting a little bit, what's the word? A little bit unbalanced, okay? Because ultimately from balance comes pure understanding of how to manage yourself long term. Because you knew what it took to be unbalanced, and now you know what it takes to be balanced. And I think that crossover really does help people. So being open to change and then willing to do it. And the last one I think ultimately is intrinsic motivation. A lot of people at the moment are motivated by what they put out to the world as opposed to what they are creating for themselves within. And this is obviously huge with social media. You can very often see through the people that are just there for extrinsic motivation. And of course, extrinsic motivation is a great motivator. It will work, but it's very clear when a client is there for the wrong reasons or they're not willing to make the changes relative to their goal. Because straight away, if that motivating factor is not big enough, if it's not that emotionally attached or rooted in them, the minute it gets challenging, the wheels come off. So yeah, those are my main traits of my most successful clients. How to stay motivated when you have no clear goal. I think I know who this is. Like, this is someone who's essentially in like a period where there is no clear goal, and that is absolutely fine. Like, having gone through a period of pushing for probably 3 years, I've coached this client. It's important that sometimes we just have a period where, you know what, you're just solidifying things and you're letting the pressure come off you. If you always move the goalposts of success in terms of goalposts, you will lose the love for the process, because you won't acknowledge where your feet are in this world. And this is something that I've struggled with massively. Everything I ever do is always on to the next thing, and it's always on to the next thing. What am I doing next? What do my clients get next? Like, where are we going? And end of this year, I'm really going to try and think like, right, okay, like, be content with where you're at. Do you know what I mean? Like, you worked hard to be here, and this goes the same for fitness. You've worked hard to be here. Just enjoy this position, because the person you were at the start would have traded everything to be in the position you're in now. Obviously, you could also at some point say, let's get a goal. It doesn't have to be huge, but it can just be small daily goals. It doesn't have to be like these big fucking challenges that are going to run you into the ground and impact your life. No, just something like on a day-to-day basis, like small, easy, attainable goals. Protein consumption as a vegan, help. So it is tricky. So the issue the issue a lot of my vegan clients have is that a lot of the protein that they are eating is with carbohydrates at the same time. Okay, not inherently bad at all. In fact, very healthy, very sustainable. Only really becomes an issue when you're trying to restrict calories, because ultimately you cannot get a single macronutrient on its own. I think realistically, vegan supplementation can help. So I was going to say a whey protein, but that would have been completely stupid, Alex. Like a vegan protein powder. One thing that I had come up with one of my clients, when we looked at their diet, the least healthy, quote unquote, or the most processed thing within the diet was the protein shake. So we actually pulled that out, and kind of they found that their digestion improved. Obviously, you need to be thinking about pairing your protein sources. So plant-based proteins are not the most complete protein sources, so they don't have the full profile of essential amino acids. So that's why, for example, you would normally pair one plant-based protein with another. So for example, if you're having beans, you might have something else with it, tofu, stuff like that, because they will complement each other and you'll get a more complete protein as a result. Tempeh is also very good, slightly on the more expensive end, but I would say supplementation after dietary intervention first. Like, you're going to be having to use a lot of lentils, a lot of beans, to try and get that protein intake up. But supplementation will be your helping hand. Does protein type matter? So yes, protein type does matter. Some proteins are more bioavailable than others, meaning that they digest better within the body, they create better signaling within the body. Is it that deep for most people? Probably not. What I would say is, like, if you are struggling with eating a lot when your calories are going up, you might want to look at like faster digesting proteins. So proteins that are more bioavailable. So for example, whey protein is a bioavailable protein, milk protein is a bioavailable protein, eggs are a bioavailable protein. Less bioavailable proteins are kind of like pork and items along that line. But again, if it's the toss-up between eating a less bioavailable protein and not eating protein at all, it would always be eat the less bioavailable protein. Again, it's not that deep. I would just say the only time it does matter is if you haven't eaten in the morning and you've trained. So you'd want to get a pretty kind of fast acting protein into your system to start that repair process. But again, that's like 0.0008% of progress. In terms of creatine, yes, most backed supplement in the industry, probably after caffeine. Do you need to load it? No. Can you load it? Yes. Loading essentially means you reach saturation quicker. Obviously, if you take 5 grams a day, you eventually will reach saturation. If you load it, you'll reach saturation quicker. That was meant to be a graph. So if you're like, fuck's sake, I'm feeling the effects of like no creatine, just have a little bit more in your first week and then taper it down. Most people, like 5-ish grams for like performance benefits, but there is some research coming out, and I think I've spoken to some people this week about it, that it does have some cognitive benefits, so it might be worth having a little bit more, but again, additional expense. What's the least amount you can train per week to gain muscle? All depends, brother or sister. It depends on your intensity, depends on your training age in terms of how long you've been doing it. If you're a noob, you could get away with doing 1 or 2 a week, I guarantee. If you're a little bit more advanced, I'd probably say 3. But within those sessions, the intensity and the volume would have to be pretty good. Obviously, when you're more advanced, you can maintain it easier than someone who's beginning as well. So it's really interesting. It's really important that you just understand, like, this question probably comes from someone who's very busy. Like, how the fuck am I meant to manage everything? And it really does boil down to, like, try and do what you can. And a lot of the time, like, I'm having some clients who've got a fair few children. They're getting pulled in different directions, can get a lot some weeks, okay? Likewise, people with very busy jobs traveling around the UK. Okay, like, I have set you the goal of 3 sessions, but like, worst case scenario, get 1 session in. You're not a failure because of that, because I know next week you're going to do this. You're going to do more, okay, when you have the availability to do so. I'm running and not losing weight. What's going on? So a lot of the time you'll be probably balancing the books with the hunger that you're eating. You're eating back. A lot of the time as well, like, scale weight is stubborn as fuck with runners. I think because of the cortisol response in the body, I think it really does kind of hold, and a lot of people will gain water retention after a long run. I know I do. I can sometimes go up like 1 kilogram, even if I haven't eaten that many calories that day. Obviously, running isn't the most efficient at burning body fat because, well, helping you lose weight. Cardio in general isn't. Obviously, it is a tool that can help you lose body fat, but you're probably better off like managing your calorie intake. Obviously, if you're trying to balance the two, you need to be thinking about carbohydrate intake, when you're going to take it, managing your calories overall. But the first thing is, if you're truly not losing weight, is like you're not in a calorie deficit. And that's the premise of that one. So some good questions this week. I clearly need to go and get a coffee. But all in all, another good Q&A this week. Well done for smashing the week. Some of you, well, all of you, have absolutely owned it. So keep up the good work. Remember, any questions, anything goes, give me a message.